On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the American naval base at Pearl Harbor, quickly followed by amphibious offensives against the Philippines and British Malaya the next day. With these actions, the Pacific theater of World War II erupted into existence. A key strategic objective for Japan was to secure the oil-rich islands of the Dutch East Indies. To achieve this, the Japanese High Command assembled a formidable naval task force to support the invasion of the islands of Java and Sumatra. The northern portion of the Malay archipelago was soon occupied, and Japanese troop convoys were advancing toward Java, home to Batavia, the capital of the Dutch East Indies. Faced with this threat, the colonial administration and Dutch government in exile, the Netherlands itself had already fallen to German occupation, worked closely with Allied forces to organize the defense of the region. A unified command known as ABDA, short for American, British, Dutch, Australian Command, was established to coordinate efforts. Upon receiving intel of an imminent Japanese landing, an Allied naval strike force under the command of Dutch Rear Admiral Karel Doorman set out to intercept the invasion fleet. Allied aviation was unable to assist the formation force, so Doorman's ships lacked both vital reconnaissance and air support. Meanwhile, Japanese reconnaissance aircraft reported the composition and exact position of the Allied ships. Guided by that intel, their leadership assembled a formidable response force. On February 27, 1942, the opposing fleets engaged in battle in the Java Sea. Early in the engagement, Allied flagship De Ruyter suffered a direct hit from a Japanese shell. The next to be hit was British cruiser Exeter. A 203mm shell disabled 6 of her 8 boilers. British destroyers attempted to cover the retreat of the damaged Exeter, and one of them, Electra, even managed to inflict significant damage to an enemy ship. However, Electra sustained critical damage from the return fire and sank. Destroyer Courtenar also found herself on the receiving end of a number of torpedoes. In an effort to intercept the invasion convoys, the Allied squadron made repeated alterations to its course, yet Japanese aircraft continuously kept track of their movements. Each time the landing transports faced a threat, Japanese ships swiftly appeared to defend them. The battle continued into the night. By midnight, British destroyer Jupiter had struck a mine from her own minefield and sunk. In the final hours of the battle, De Ruyter and Java were hit by heavy gunfire and torpedoes, and also went under. Rear Admiral Doorman, aboard De Ruyter, ordered the remaining ships to leave without attempting to rescue the crews of the sinking cruisers to avoid further losses for the squadron. By the battle's end, the Allies had lost most of their strike force, and the surviving ships retreated to Batavia. The following day, the remnants of the Allied squadron attempted to flee the area in separate groups. In the evening hours, American heavy cruiser Houston and the Australian light cruiser Perth attempted to break out of the Java Sea into the Indian Ocean. After leaving Batavia, they spotted Japanese transports unloading troops in the Sunda Strait. The convoy was guarded by only one Japanese destroyer, Fubuki, and the Allied ships immediately engaged her. However, their advantage was short-lived due to the arrival of a division of Japanese destroyers, accompanied by cruisers Mogami and Mikuma. After a fierce engagement, both Allied cruisers were severely damaged and sank. Another group, the damaged Exeter, accompanied by 2 destroyers, British Encounter and American Pope, set out on the night of February 28th to March 1st, 1942. In the morning, they encountered 2 powerful Japanese formations advancing toward them, led by 4 heavy cruisers. In the unequal battle that followed, Exeter was lost. Encounter also perished along with her, after refusing to follow orders to abandon the doomed flagship. Pope escaped only to be sunk several hours later by aerial attack. The Allied naval force in the region was effectively eliminated. The Japanese Imperial Navy secured a decisive victory in the battle for the Dutch East Indies, paving the way for unopposed occupation of the islands.